Rah. 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 Hi. How you doing? How you doing, tongue licks? Do you go click? I like to think you go click. Okay, Laura, go. Story happens. Protagonist. Antagonist. Side characters. The hero's journey. That's not what we're talking about today. How are you, boss man? I have been arguing with a tech bro all fucking day, and I'm just gonna say it. If tech bros all went up and died, I think this world would be a better place. In all honesty, tech bros literally give us nothing. They just want to scam us and literally make arguments about how stealing shit should be legal. Because they're lazy pieces of shit that don't want to do anything. They're the kinds of people that want to put their name on the group project without doing any of the work. No idea who Tech Bro is. Tech Bros. Like the guys who were like, dude, invest in my tech company. It's totally not a marketing scam. Those guys, like Elon Musk. The guys who will convince you to buy Bitcoin and NFTs. Those people. Yes. And now they're AI bitches because NFTs fucking failed. Because they want to ruin everything for everyone because they're such lazy, soulless pieces of shit that they want AI to run the world, not realizing that by doing so, that if an AI crashes and none of us knows how to fix the thing it was doing, we're fucked as a species. Nah, don't worry about it. Don't worry about being a slow typer. Now, if AI is used to help people, I'm okay with that. We use spell check all the time. I'm fine with it being used for like spell check or like helping with like certain things, not putting all the groundwork on it. Like I just saw an artist today who said if we could use AI to just like do coloring in the frames for me and then I can go in and clean up whatever it fucks up, that's perfectly fine with me. That's the good shit. Yeah, Silicon Valley swindlers. Watch Mother's Basement video on the topic. It's actually really good. Anyway. We're not here to talk about AI. We're not here to talk about how stupid some people fucking are. We're here to talk about one man. One man and his fuck up. We're here to talk about one man and his absolute dumb fuckery. The man, the myth. If I could get this. The fucking legend. Horus Lupercal. Horus motherfucking Lupercal. The man who single-handedly set the Imperium ablaze. This man. This did not help me at all. This did not help. Help! Help! This creature is the reason why Warhammer 40k is the reason why Warhammer 40k. He is the man that has stated, death to the false emperor, and that I shall free the galaxy from his tyranny. Hashtag Fabius Bile. No! He's the reason those guys are rampant! Now, Erebus and the Word Bearers are the actual reason why the Horus Heresy started, but you cannot have a Horus Heresy without Horus. Primarch of the Luna Wolves Legion, War Master of the Imperium, and chosen of the Chaos Gods. And I want to talk about him tonight because fuck you, I'm tired. And plus, you guys haven't heard the dulcet tones of my voice in forever. So how about I do you all a favor and tell you a story? And unlike God, I'm actually a good dad in this way, reading you all a good bedtime story before bed. That's just how much I love and appreciate you guys, that I'm willing to tell you such dulcet stories about how a man rips another man's arm off and beats him to fucking death with it. That's just how much of a good father I am. On a post, things would have been better than it is now, I think. No. Not at all. So, to tell the story of the Horus Heresy, we must understand what kind of man Horus is. And to start us out, we'll go back. Back to the past. The distant past. The long forgotten past that many do not know the story of. When a man and a woman love each other very much. The woman donates her eggs to him and then he inseminates them with his sperm. And that is the romantic story about how the Primarchs were created. Erda, wife of the Emperor, the betrothed, the chosen, his companion, you could say, his partner for life. Erda was a very, very loyal follower of the Emperor, so much so that she, was willing to have his kids. Of course, he was too massive and he shit went out of whack real fucking fast with her. But Erda. But soon she began to see that their sons, the 20 Primarchs, would not be sons. They would not be a family. They would be weapons of war. Tools to be used. The Emperor never referred to them by a name. He referred to them as a number. Number 1, number 2, number 3. He never referred to them as people, as children to be respected, to be loved, to be appreciated, as though he had no love for these creations of his. They were tools. Tools to be used, to be weaponized, to bring death upon the Emperor's enemies. Erda did not want this fate for their children. She wanted her sons to live a peaceful life, a life of love, a life with her and the Emperor at their side, guiding and teaching them of the rights and wrongs of the galaxy. Sadly, this was not meant to be. And Erda would not allow her sons to be used in such a way. In the dead of night, she would sneak into the Emperor's laboratory in what we call, of today's time, Mount Everest. She would then conduct a ritual that would spirit all 20 of the Primarchs across the galaxy. The Emperor, too late to stop her. Though we will cut away from them, for this is not the story of the Emperor. This is not the story of Erda. This is the story of their son, the Primarch Horus Lupercal. Oh, I'm sorry, Valheim. Horus would end up. Why am I forgetting his name? There we go. Horus would end up on the world of Synthonia. A world that, when the Emperor's scouts found it, described it as a nest of vipers we would be better to eradicate it. Synthonia was a hard-wrought world. A world full of gangers that ruled the underhives, that ruled the tunnels of the mines. You were a part of a gang, which could be attributed to a house, but worst comes to worst, it is more of along the lines of a gang culture. Ruffians, roundabouts, people that are considered less desired in the society, prowled the tunnels and ruled this planet. People that were hardy. Though to the untrained eye, these people would look like barbarians and savages. These men and women, and those of unspecified gender, had their own way of life, their own way of living, their own choices to do. Honor meant everything to them. Tradition meant everything to them. Horus, though, would spend a short time with them, not enough to influence him in such a way that their ideals in politics shaped him into who he was. But he did stay on the planet long enough to learn their language, learn their culture. And then the Emperor arrived. Horus was the first to be found. The first son to be found and to be brought to the Emperor's side. Though we do not know what was said that day, we know that Horus knew who the Emperor was and willingly accepted his father into his life. And from there, the Emperor doted on Horus. Horus was his favorite. Horus was the man of the hour. The man that the Emperor would constantly turn to get any task that he needed done. Whether it be, fetch me that book over there, son, to, I need you to lead this army and take this planet. The Emperor would trust Horus with everything. And Horus would take pride in this. He was the Emperor's favorite son, and he would not disappoint his father. Horus would be introduced to the 16th Legion, the Luna Wolves, his sons, his proud Terran-born warriors, and he would also be introduced to the scouts that named Synthonia a planet of vipers. After all, he did request to meet them. And though the fleet commander at the time was worried that he had paid insult to the Primarch's homeworld, Horus did not punish this fleet. In fact, he said, I wish for this scout fleet to be personally assigned to the 63rd expedition. Assigned as his scouts, for he loved the words that those recon men had said to his father all those years ago. Men who are honest with their words and their judgment. Horus would have no liars amongst him. Men and women who would not lie to him about small failures. Men and women who would not try to hide things from him. Horus was an honest man, though knew when to lie when he needed to. For a small, tasteful lie can move planetary systems. And not just that. Horus was taught by the Emperor in all theaters of war. Not just on the battlefield, but in the political sphere. In the private chambers. Not sex, you weirdos. How to talk to someone in private conversation, to win the argument, to bring them to your side. Oh. Oh no. We're not talking about Alpharius today, we're talking about Horus. Should probably close some tabs here quick. Yes. Horus was taught in all aspects. Hi, Aramis. And he would master them all. He could talk an entire planet into joining the Imperium. He could talk to individual people to support his cause. When Horus went to war, it was like lightning, as fast, until you realized that you had already lost the battle when the sound of the thunder came. Horus had a personal belief in war, that in order to win, a war must be swift and brutal. That the enemy must not forget how fast and brutal it is. My God, we are constantly dropping frame rates. Can we not today, Internet? Please? Please? I'm begging.
Is it fucking up again?
Yes.
Are you fucking kidding me? What's going on? What's happening?
It's just frame rates are dropping.
Hi, Aramis. What was happening?
It's just frame rates drop.
No, what was happening? What was going on? Was there a lot of people messaging in the chat?
No, babe, it just does it randomly. It's just the shitty internet in our town. There's nothing I can do about it. Unless Telus gets its shit together.
Okay.
You can go now. It'll be okay. I got it.
Okay. Only about half an hour for food.
Okay, cool. Back to the story. A quick and brutal war. One so horrific it would scar the enemy and make sure that they understood who was in charge. And the little wolves fit this tactic perfectly like a glove. Rehearsed over and over, drop pods raining from the sky, pearl light smashing into whatever they decided to crash into, Marines quickly and brutally slamming everywhere, killing everything. And the best of these warriors, the best, the very best, Horus would choose. First Captain Ezekiel Abaddon would ring through his mouth, promoting Ezekiel Abaddon to the first captaincy, not because he was a genius at war, though a very fine tactician he was, not because he was brutal in the battlefield, and that he was a savage, a controlled savage, but a savage nonetheless. Abaddon was honest. Abaddon was brutal. Abaddon was straightforward. Something that Horus admired about the captain. Admired about his son. Abaddon would be his first officer. But soon, Horus also realized that in times of conflict, one man cannot take the opinion of one. He must have a council. A council of individuals who could, without any other influence to themselves, help him in strategizing, both on the battlefield, in the political sphere, when it came to people. He would dub this council of his the Monerval. The Monerval was made up of 4 people that would slowly change over time. Sadly, due to battlefield losses. Though Ezekiel Abaddon would be the constant. Abaddon would be the oldest member of the Monerval. And from there, Horus continued to lead. He would continue to serve alongside his father, and eventually they would discover the other Primarchs. Leman Russ, Fulgrim, Perturabo, Ferrus Manus, Lionel Johnson, Robert Gulliman, all of them. And Horus would teach some of them. He would educate his brothers on the glory of the Great Crusade, how to lead, how to command, what kind of forces they were being given, and to share with them the responsibility of the Imperium, as well as how to teach their fellow brothers. He would make very close friends with most of his brothers. Some would say that him and Dorn were rather close. Others would say that him and Mortarion had a bond that just couldn't be shared with others. Some would say that him and Leman Russ would drink a toast anytime they fought side by side. There was one friendship, though, that Horus would always hold dear to himself. His brotherhood with the Primarch of the Blood Angels, Sanguinius. The angel, the man of the hour, the absolute epitome of what the Great Crusade was at its very heart. Sanguinius was the only person Horus ever considered an equal to himself. Sure, Gulliman was a better statesman than Horus. Sure, Lionel Johnson was a better strategist. And why not? They could be. But Sanguinius was Horus's equal. Nay. Horus believed Sanguinius to be his superior. He loved Sanguinius, doted on him. When the two were together, it was as if Horus was a completely different person. Soft, loving, caring towards Sanguinius. Still firm. But it was very clear there was a bias between them, that their brotherhood was one shaped through fire and blood, but as well as camaraderie and friendship. And one day, Horus would show Sanguinius just how much of a brother he could be. During a fight on a planet, with Horus and Sanguinius fighting side by side, Horus took notice of when Sanguinius had to walk away. He knew his brother. He knew his brother better than anyone. He knew that something was wrong. That his brother was acting weird, distant, cold. Sanguinius would never act like this of his own accord. And it was here where he found Sanguinius beheading one of his own sons. Sanguinius killed one of his own soldiers, his son, and was weeping at the action. Horus, seeing this, demanded to know what was wrong. Why had Sanguinius killed one of his own? And Sanguinius told him, in tears, that the Blood Angels had a curse, a red thirst, something that would drive his men insane, to drink the blood of the innocent. Horus then asked, why have you not talked to our father about this? Told him about this, so that he could fix it. And Sanguinius uttered the words that would echo through Horus's mind. Did he fix the 2nd and the 11th? We saw what happened when they failed. We saw what happened when they were not his image. And Horus immediately understood. He knew that Sanguinius was sadly right. Though the 2nd and 11th legions were tragedies in their own right, he would not see the Blood Angels, Sanguinius, turn to dust and forgotten. He vowed to Sanguinius that day that he would not let this secret slip from his lips. Sanguinius was his best friend and his brother, and he would honor it to the grave. That is how close these two men were. That Horus would be trusted with this secret until the end of their days. No, world leaders are 12. World leaders are 12. 2nd and 11th are gone. Cut to many years later. The Great Crusade is at its apex, the height of its glory, and the Emperor decides that it is now time for the Orc Empire at Ulanor to be crushed under the Imperial boot. Every legion was called upon, and though many were not able to make it, many were stranded to the frontiers, recovering from other wars. Horus Lupercal and his little wolves were at the call. The Ultramarines were at the call. The Imperial Fists were at the call. Legion after legion was ready to smash the Orc Empire that troubled the Imperium so. And the Emperor, along with all the expedition fleets that he could muster, launched an invasion of Ulanor that put every other campaign in the Great Crusade to shame. Nothing was as majestic and as glorious as the War of Ulanor. 1 year. 1 year was all it took to break Ulanor. The Emperor and Horus broke into the tyrant's throne room himself and fought the evil Orc war boss in single combat together. And soon, the Orc war boss got the upper hand, choking the Emperor, choking the life out of him, as Horus was staggered and falling to his feet. But the son would not fail here. He would not fail his father. Not here, not anywhere. And with one swing of his mace, Worldbreaker, Horus smashed the Orc war boss off of his father and out a window into the melee below. The Orc war boss dying on impact. Horus had not only saved the Emperor, saved the Imperium, but he had won the war. The Orc Empire was broken, its war boss defeated. The Orcs ran, screaming, terrified. So terrified, in fact, that on a genetic level, the Orcs would associate the color white with death. The Emperor, very thankful for Horus, had a surprise for him. Though not yet, he said. It is time to celebrate, of course. We shall pave over this infernal rock and rebuild it for the Imperium. And hold a celebration, a parade, for the glorious triumph of Ulanor. And for the next few months, everyone would celebrate. The Imperium would celebrate its victory. But there was something wrong. Something that Horus took note of. And then it was said, Horus, I trust you above all else. I dub thee War Master. He who shall act with my authority. He who should have my power. Hail Horus! Hail the War Master! The Emperor cried to all who would hear at this parade. Horus was stunned, taken aback. What? Me given your power? I am but a lowly Primarch, Father. I could not do this. And the Emperor, along with some of his brothers, encouraged him on. Though, when asked why he was being made War Master, The Emperor said, I'm returning to Terra, for I grow tired, and the administration must be dealt with. I trust you to do this, Horus, for you are my favorite son, and I know you will not fail me. If he was so trusted, why didn't the Emperor tell him what he was doing? Why didn't the Emperor tell him? No. There's a pretty good reason why, he says to himself. But the first seed, doubt, was planted in Horus's mind. But he would sow that away. Those are thoughts that should not be thought of. Thoughts that lead to dark places that Horus knew that he could not surrender to. And Horus would take to the action instantly. A man who could get his brothers to do what he needed them to do. A man who could command armies to conquer worlds. Horus would be that man for his father. For he would not fail him in anything. And Horus took to the work. Sure, he now had added responsibilities of dealing with trivial political matters such as taxation, or how to bring this planet into proper compliance, or rebellions here and there. The Great Crusade was nearing its end, and the galaxy mostly conquered. Horus was just finishing up. As rightfully so, War Master of the Imperium. Stuff began to nag at him. Administrators talked to him like he did not have any authority. People who talked down to his Astartes, his sons, his brothers. Savages? How dare you say that about the Khan? How dare you say that about Angron? Those are my brothers, and I will not hear them disgraced. And then, 1 year after that, Horus would find a world not unlike Terra itself. In fact, Terra back in its glory days, before the seas were dried up from nuclear fire, where the trees bloomed and blossomed beautifully. The mountains had snow. It was perfect, idealistic. And there, this would throw the 63rd Expedition for a loop. They would find the Imperium of Man, led by the Emperor of Mankind, wishing to launch his great crusade into the stars to reunite all of humanity's lost colonies. What was the 1 in a million chance of this? Horus was astounded and immediately began diplomatic relations with this group. Over time, though, Horus had more than one favorite son. There was Abaddon, of course. There was Little Horus, Aximand, Tariq Turgaden. There was one man, a hero amongst the Luna Wolves, one that even put Ezekiel Abaddon to shame, one man who overcame the Sun moniker and Horus would call friend. Xavier Jubal. Jubal was the epitome, was just the embodiment of what an Astarte should be. Noble, humble, handsome, a very well-versed speaker, a man that you could trust with anything. Horus loved Xavier Jubal. But so quick are the tides of war, conflict, that in the blink of an eye, you lose everything. Xavier Jubal was killed during diplomatic talks with the Emperor. Killed by the Emperor's personal guard, the so-called Invisibles. Jubal's corpse would be defiled. And Horus, though in tears at the loss of his friend, his son, he would not let it try to overcome him. He would send out another diplomatic envoy to try to speak reason to the Emperor. And this group was shot down too. His personal equerry, Malachus the Twisted, would be shot down and thought dead. Horus would then give the order, break this world, my sons. And the Luna Wolves would obey their master, breaking this world and bringing it into the folds of the Imperium. He would then get a message from the surface. My lord, the enemy leader requests to surrender to you directly. An odd choice, but he would grant this frail old man, this man who killed his sons, this personal honor. And when he arrived, he teleported not to his son surrounding an old man, but a greedy tyrant on the throne who had pushed his sons off the palace with a special archaic device. Horus was in his personal armor, though, and Horus is a rather heavy gentleman. And with just a simple squeeze of the trigger, the fake emperor was no more. His throne melted to slag as the plasma pistol Horus fired tore through the pathetic fake emperor. And Horus turned around, seeing a pearl-white hand gripping onto the ledge. He would rush over to it, grab it by the wrist, and pull it up. Captain Garviel Loken of the 10th Company. Captain Garviel Loken? 10th Company? Abaddon should be here, not him. Ho ho ho! Little Loken! You just impressed your Primarch. From here, Horus needed to do some counting. He had lost Xavier Jubal, one of his Monreval, his council. Luckily enough for him, he did not have to go and seek out another right away. In fact, he would hand that duty off to his brother Dorn. For Dorn and the Imperial Fists were attached to the fleet at the time. One last conquest, Dorn said, before I am made Praetorian of Terra. A reasonable request. One that would be paid back in full with the one decision Dorn made to promote to the Monreval. Garviel Loken. Not because Garviel was the one that made it to the top of the tower, though that was a very, very amazing duty that he performed. A great honor to the 10th. He would choose Loken because Loken was honest. Loken was straightforward. Loken would speak his mind. A sort of counterbalance to the Monreval. Seeing flaws in Horus's plan and picking them apart. Exactly what Horus needed. A man of reason. And Horus would welcome Garviel Loken to the Monreval, along with Ezekiel Abaddon, little Horus Aximand, and Loken's soon-to-be close personal best friend, Tariq Torgaden. And this group worked immaculately. they got along very well. And as well as that, when Loken knew his place, he knew it well. When Horus wanted him to do something, Loken knew what to do, when to do it. When it came to the compliance of the very same world they had just conquered, Loken knew his spot reasonably and would volunteer the 10th Company to clean up. He would continue to do the right things. Loken was a man that was needed.
Food is here. Do you want me to bring you it or just
Leave it out there. Thank you. And Horus was proud. Though there were other things that needed tending to after this conquest. And he would find his legion and himself wrapped up in a war on a planet they dubbed Murder. Insects calling themselves the Murder Arachnids, or as the expedition would call them, for the species did not speak a common tongue that they understood. Nor would they. These were insects that had so very violently murdered their sons and cousins. They would not show any quarter to these insects at all. Strange, though, that these insects had satellites around the planet. They have no spacefaring capabilities. Is that a ship in the distance? Is that a Murder Arachnid ship? They're hailing us. Humans. What are they doing here? This is not an Imperial ship that I recognize. Who are these people? He would ask himself. Who are these people? They would call themselves the Interrex. And they were wondering why the Imperium was trespassing on their domain. Trespassing? What do you mean? This planet belongs to the Murder Arachnids. No, it does not. It belongs to us. We trapped the Murder Arachnids on this world, and the satellites around the planet are emanating a signal telling you to not enter. For we do not believe in the extermination of species. We believe in containment. Horus was stunned, amazed. The Interrex were very cordial, very polite. Aliens among them, Xenos. How did the Interrex make peace with Xenos? And the Interrex told them. Many things indeed, especially why they had allied with aliens before. And why they still do so today. Trust is the word of the day. When you trust an ally absolutely, and that ally trusts you absolutely, you will succeed in everything. A fair statement. And one that Horus would take to heart. He took an unreasonable amount of time with the Interrex, where his officers would demand that they slaughter them like the animals they were. Horus would refuse, each and every time. He wanted to make peace with the Interrex, saying that if the Emperor would do so, the Emperor would convince the Interrex to join them. So why couldn't he? Horus had never failed before, and he was not going to fail now. In fact, it led to such a spat that first Captain Abaddon dared raise his voice at his father. Daring to raise his voice. How dare you, Abaddon? Was Horus not to be respected? Was his authority questionable in this instance? He is the War Master, and he will not be questioned on a decision like this. And soon, a new party arrived aboard. Erebus and a squadron of word-bearers. Erebus claimed that Lorgar had sent him simply to be an equerry, to learn from the Luna Wolves about how to conduct themselves after their shaming at Malakia. Fine, Horus said. Whatever Lorgar wants. So, Horus and his Luna Wolves would be invited back to the Interex's home world. Invited to dinner with the planetary leaders. Glorious. Absolutely glorious. And that night, Horus would fail. The Interrex had called him a thief, a liar, a wolf in sheep's clothing. Where was this coming from? Horus was stunned, shocked. Clearly something was wrong. Some offense had been done that Horus did not mean, his sons did not mean, and the Interrex would not explain themselves. They just declared Horus and his sons them. Who is them? What are you talking about? Servants to who? What? Horus would then sadly lead a campaign against the Interrex, wiping them from the galactic map forevermore. A task he was ashamed of. And it hurt his ego. He was the War Master. He was the Emperor's chosen. He could not fail. How could he fail negotiations? A diplomatic we were having dinner. Everything was fine. What did I do to fail? Father, what did I do? How could you allow me to fail like this? Why have you abandoned me? These thoughts rang through Horus's head. And like a snake out from the bush, Erebus striked, stating that there was nothing wrong with what Horus did. He tried his best. And though this was a diplomatic failure, yes, this was in line with the Great Crusade. Horus was not a failure. Merely the tools that he had been taught and given just weren't good enough. It is time that Horus started showing his authority more, a little bit. Showing why he was the War Master, why he deserved the position. And how about that honor that you forgot about all those years ago, Primarch Horus? Renaming the Luna Wolves to the Sons of Horus. An honor that the Emperor granted Horus all those years ago, when he was made War Master. And Horus rightfully declined, for it was too egotistical. It made him above his brothers. They were not the sons of Gulliman. They were not the sons of Sanguinius. They were the Ultramarines, the Blood Angels. The Luna Wolves were an honor. But now in a time where Horus was talked down to, talked behind his back, why not? Why not change the name of the Luna Wolves to the Sons of Horus? It just made the most logical sense. To reinstate Horus' authority. Many saw it for what it was. Just Horus taking the honor from his father, finally. What took him so long? Others would see it as rather egotistical. Others would not care. A name is a name. A color is a color. The Sons of Horus are still the Luna Wolves at the end of the day. Horus, though, would take more time with Erebus, someone who would stroke his ego. They would find that he would spend more time with Erebus than he would with his own Monoravel, his own sons. Sometimes even listening to only Erebus's counsel. That is not right, Loken and Tariq thought, while Abaddon and Aximan were more concerned about the Primarch's mental well-being. Sure, Abaddon had been proven right, the Interrex were not to be trusted, but it shouldn't be affecting him this much. And then the twist with the dagger in the side of Horus. Davin had rebelled. A world that Horus had conquered long ago, before the Ullanor Crusade. And he had entrusted to his closest human companion, Yugen Temba. Yugen Temba had declared rebellion. That he stood against the Imperium. Another failure. Did I judge Yugen Temba wrong? Did I choose wrong again? I shall right this mistake, Horus said, taking his legion to Davin. And from there, he would learn that Yugen Temba had retreated to the moon, the forested moon. And taking charge and leaving before all of his support vessels were in proper position, he would take the 1st, 2nd, 4th, and 10th companies down to the planet's surface, along with a Titan legion backing him. He would crush this upstart, this traitor, this former friend. He would crush him under his boot. Strange. Where's the orbital defenses? Where's the PDF? Where are the rebels? All there is a swamp full of corpses. And why is Yugen Temba's ship crashed on the planet? His ship juts up like a tower ready to fall. This makes no sense. And why is it so thick? Why is there a fog so thick that you can barely make out the silhouette? Monstrosities crawled out of the mist. Beings that, when a single swing of their knife was enough to cleave through power armor. The power armor of the Astartes. Armor that tanks had trouble crushing under their treads was cut away so easily. Horus and his Luna Wolves were out of position, not knowing what the hell was going on. Luckily, though, a remembrancer, someone who was to study the Primarch, had disobeyed his direct order and had crash-landed on the planet. Due to a miscalculation of enemy air support and the Titan Dies Era, thinking that shuttle is an enemy fighter craft, shoot it down. This gave Horus a landmark where he could rally his forces and and drive a spear into the heart of the enemy, which he did. Arriving at the ship, Horus would decide that Falcus Kyber would be the man to bring in with him, along with his personal squadron. Falcus Kyber. Though a good warrior, he was not Abaddon. He was not Aximan. He was not Tariq or even Loken in skill. Why him? The 4 captains had shamed their Primarch by questioning him. Loken even stated, maybe we should wait. Wait for what? Yugen must be crushed now, Loken. It is unwise, my Primarch. Questioning Horus again. questioning his authority, his decisions. Mark my words, Garvia Loken, for I am about to do something that will change the Imperium forever, was his words to Captain Garvia Loken. Horus would find Yugen Temba after the ship fell apart, of course, and a beam impaled Horus. Not knowing the fate of his sons outside, it snapped Horus out of his delusion, realizing that he was wrong. He was very wrong. He shouldn't have come here like this. This was decisions made of anger, made out of hatred. Poor decisions that would lead a lot of his sons to be butchered. Why did he do this? Put those thoughts out of your mind right now, Horus. The task is clear. Bring Yugen Temba to justice. And there he would find him. Yugen Temba impaling one of Horus's sons on his sword. Yugen Temba was different. The man was bloated. His skin leathery. Disgusting. Is this Yugen Temba? He recognizes his name. And swiftly, the battle begins. Yugen Temba's sword acting as though possessed, wielding him instead of the other way around. And it got some good hits in on Horus, jabbing into his shoulder, breaking his shoulder plate, finding weak points in Horus's armor and cutting him, death by 1,000 cuts. Nay, Horus would end this little dance and impale Yugen Temba on his claw. And a strange thing happened, as if a spell was lifted over Yugen Temba's eyes as the blade clattered to the ground. Yugen Temba would fall into the Primarch's arms and give him a warning. Dark plans surround you. You must not give in, Horus. You must not let them take you. Horus didn't know what to think. But the deed was done. Yugen Temba and the rebels were crushed. What counted for rebels anyway. And Horus would leave the ship, a little worse for wear, but nothing his apothecarians couldn't handle, black. Horus' vision went black. Horus would later wake in the apothecarium. And his apothecaries would tell him, "You are dying, my Primarch. And there is no medicine that we can give you that can fix you. As though your very being is being deleted." Horus, in both sadness and delirium from the pain, began to talk to the Remembrancer that had crash-landed on the planet, telling her of things that should not have been said. He was raised in the forest like a wild animal, you know, he would say about Lionel Johnson. A clear rival in many ways, but a very cold and bitter way to look at their friendship and relationship. He would say many things about the Primarchs, about the Great Crusade, his personal feelings, the feelings of a dying man. And he would awake hours later, not with the Remembrancer at his side, but in a field. A field where Horus was on Earth, Terra, and would see it over and over and over go from its beautiful paradise to a desolate hellscape. Someone was playing tricks on him. Is this death? Is this heaven? Hell? What is it? Xavier Jubal answered, "It is a waiting room, my dear friend. A waiting room for some very interested individuals to talk to you. Individuals? Who wishes to talk to me? Beings from the other side, my Primarch. This voice would say. Xavier Jubal would then reveal himself in the flesh. The trusted son of Horus Lupercal would stand before him. That ever beautiful smile on his face. Beings from the other side wish to speak with you, Horus, and to show you the future. They can claim to show me many things. Doesn't mean I'll believe them. We might believe them on this, my Primarch, Xavier Jubal says, and with a snap of his fingers, he takes him to a city. Not on Earth. Gothic, archaic. The people in rags. What? Where are these people going? Jubal was not there. Horus felt compelled to follow. Compelled to follow this crowd to wherever they were going. Very well. And then he would see it. 10 statues. 10 golden statues erected and bearing the resemblance of his brothers. Lionel Johnson, Jagatai Khan, Rogel Dorn, Sanguinius, Ferrus Manus, Robot Gulliman, Corax, Vulcan, and Sanguinius. And the 10th statue in the center of it all, the Emperor of Mankind. The God Emperor of Mankind? These people were not here to celebrate a victory. They were worshipping these statues. Worship. God. The Emperor had outlawed religion in the Imperium. There were no gods. There was no such thing. The Imperial truth was the truth. Science and reason. Why are they worshipping him as a god? Why are they worshipping my brothers as gods? Where are the other 9? Where is Magnus? Where is Perturabo? Where is Fulgrim? The Emperor's children? Where is Lorgard, most loyal of all? Where is his statue? What? What are these thoughts? Where is my statue? Why am I not being worshipped? Was I not worthy enough? Was I a failure? What? Why would... He then realized. He wanted this to be recognized. To be seen and worshipped. For was that not what glory entailed? Was that not his given right? As the Emperor's chosen? His War Master? Where was his statue? Where is his victory? Where is he to be remembered? Was he such a failure that he would be forgotten in but a span of a century? Looking back, Horus was mortified. Why would this happen? Taking a closer look, these were not statues that resembled his brother. These were dead men. The city worshipped death. Horus, mortified, terrified, fled from the city center, lost in this labyrinth. He was scared. What was the Imperium becoming? What is this illusion? He would be found hours later by Xavier Jubal. And Jubal would say, "It is time for us to go." He would then be taken somewhere else. A gene laboratory. The same one that he was created in all those years ago. He knew about it. The Emperor had told him what happened. That some dark, nefarious power had sent him off. That had stolen him and his brothers away from the Emperor. Some dark, nefarious plot. And here he would be saddened, for he found the capsules of the 2nd and 11th Primarchs. What could have been? What could have been? They failed the Emperor and now were to be forgotten forever. Their legions expunged from history. He did not even recall those brothers' names. Had the Emperor taken that from him? Is that what awaits them? To be forgotten? To be left for dead? These thoughts hindered Horus. They racked at his mind. And soon events played out. The portal opens, the capsules are all sent. Horus desperately trying to hang on to one of them. But it was too late. Left in darkness. Xavier Jabal would return again. This time telling Horus that he was an emissary for higher beings. Beings that said that the Emperor was not a man he claimed to be. He was a tyrant, a monster, a thief. And he will soon toss Horus away. Not just Horus, but his other brothers. Failures. What have I done to fail? I have been loyal to the end. Why would I be thrown away? If the Emperor gets what he wishes, Xavier Jabal says, then the Imperium will become the very thing that you saw. Worshippers of death. Horus pondered this question. No. This isn't right. This isn't right. Something is wrong. Something is very wrong. But he saw it. He didn't want to believe it, but no. The Emperor would never do this. The Emperor has too much respect. Everyone respects the Emperor. Why would he ever do this? No one would ever go against his edicts, his decrees. The Emperor would never be worshipped as a god. He would say, until Magnus the Red broke into the vision, claiming that, Horus, you are being deceived, and would tear away the form of Xavier Jabal. It was not Jabal. It was Erebus, the snake in the grass, that viper. The man who was wearing Jabal's face was stunned and mortified, thinking that his plan had failed. Wrong. Tzeentch's plan had succeeded all along. Though Magnus' story is a tale for another day. Magnus' screw-up here was that he defied the Emperor's edict. Open defiance of the Emperor. Does the Emperor not have your respect, Magnus? Why would you think to know better? People think they know better than the Emperor. Is his power not absolute? Does the Emperor make mistakes? Yes, he does. He created the Astartes. He let civilian administrators decide and choose things that actively hindered the Imperium. Worlds were rebelling due to unfair taxes, things that Horus did not decree, but lesser men were. And these men, were they going to martyr the Emperor? Were they going to turn the Emperor into a god? Was the Emperor going to allow this? Of course. It all makes sense. It's all clicking together. The Emperor is false. His great crusade was an ego test. I am a tool for him to use, to lay the blame on if I fail. All of us are. My brothers. We're all tools. Ready to be tossed aside. Not even to be trusted by the Emperor himself. Horus would make his decision. And his words to Loken ring much more dangerous now. Horus would awaken inside a temple on the moon of Davin with a fresh perspective on life. A new, fresher perspective. And with a plan roiling in his mind. He would liberate the Imperium from this tyrant. He would see he and his brothers freed from the slavery to their father. Horus, War Master of the Imperium, would set plans in motion that would see the Imperium burnt to ashes. And his plan? A new, greater empire would rise from its ashes. But it is not this day that I tell you the rest of the story, children. You'll have to come back tomorrow. Oh, dangerous as I, leaving you on a cliffhanger. Maybe it'll convince you all to come join me as I finish the story of Horus Lupercal. Thank you all so much for coming and watching. Thank you all so much for listening. I appreciate you all so very, very much. And I will talk to you all tomorrow. Please remember to like, subscribe, and donate. Join the Patreon. And all of you, have a